All right, thanks, guys. And here with your Western Conference preview, I'm Devin Gobeil.
I'm Nick Hrysikos.
And I'm Deric Rush.
So let's start out with the team that was in the news most recently, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They made a lot of moves this offseason. They added Paul George, they added Carmelo Anthony, and of course they have Russell Westbrook. They just signed him 5 years, $205 million, biggest contract in NBA history, on Kevin Durant's birthday. There's no way that was an accident. They really didn't give up a lot for these players that they got. They fleeced the teams that they traded with. I think they won all these trades. What do you guys think about the Thunder and the moves they made this summer?
Well, guys, I think that the Thunder are really they're breaking ground today. You know, they're definitely trying to become that new contender in the West. They're trying to be the team to beat. You know, the Warriors have they kind of snatched the rug up under them, you know, with the KD trade. But you know, I think that this the Paul George acquisition as well as the Melo acquisition, Hoodie Melo, gotta love him. That's going to be a great.
98 on 2K, by the way.
I know, if you give him a hoodie, he's not going to be stopped.
It's going to be a great addition to the team. I mean, I think that, you know, they have some good role players there still. You know, Robertson, he's going to be a tough guy, a great defender on the perimeter. I really think they're going to give the Warriors a run for their money, and I personally picked them as my favorite to come out of the West on top this year. Nick, what do you think?
I also like the moves that the Oklahoma City Thunder made. I mean, obviously, when you add two superstars, it can't be a bad thing. But I do believe they did give up a lot to get these two stars. I like Domantas Sabonis in terms of potential.
Right.
I also liked Enes Kanter coming off the bench. I think he was a candidate for Sixth Man of the Year.
Oh yeah,
he was a great backup for Steven Adams. I don't think their bench is as deep as they would like, but I do see them contending for maybe like a 3, 4, even 2 seed in the Western Conference.
Right. Well, I mean, when you got Russell Westbrook, you know, like you just said, he made the 5-year, 205. I mean, that's the biggest one in NBA history. Steph Curry last year topped it off with $200 million, I believe it was.
It seems like every year we're getting like a new highest contract.
Yeah, and I mean, that with the competition for the newer contracts, it's also, you got to throw into account the factors that Russell Westbrook brings to the table. He's not going to just be a $205 million guy for no reason. I mean, he was averaging a triple-double last season. I feel like as that player, as the leader for this team, the almost the heartbeat that keeps the Thunder pumping, you know, this guy is going to be the one that's going to make up and fill those gaps for that bench depth that they don't have. You know, he's averaging a triple-double all last season. I mean, come on, man. I think they're going to be fine. I'm very optimistic about the Thunder this season.
I agree. I think they will, and they kind of owned the end of the summer with the moves they made. But let's talk about a team that owned the beginning of the summer with the moves they made, and the Houston Rockets.
Wow.
They obviously added CP3.
My boy.
I think he's a great addition to the team. A lot of people question, you know, will Harden and CP3 be able to play together? And obviously, I think when the year starts, they'll have trouble. You know, they'll go through the things the Cavaliers did a few years ago.
As they should.
What the Celtics will go through this year.
It's
but I think they'll figure it out.
It's never a smooth transition, like you're saying. It's never a smooth transition.
I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll be a good team. Do you guys think they can figure it out? And do you think they can be a good team and fight and try to beat the Warriors?
Nick, I'll let you go first on that one.
I actually think they're going to be the fastest team to transition for their new players. I mean, you think about OKC, they added 2 really big isolation players, Carmelo and Paul George. But when you add a guy like CP3, yes, he's taking over the point guard position from James Harden, but he's going to be a guy who can distribute the ball to James. I think this is going to be one of the most dynamic backcourts in the Western Conference. How can you add CP3 and think that that's going to, you know, affect them negatively in any way? I see CP3, he's also a great defender. Patrick Beverley was a great defender as well. I think he's going to add that to the backcourt. And I see him getting the ball, pick and roll with like Clint Capella and stuff like that. I see him getting James Harden his shots. I think it's going to be a really good matchup.
Well, you know, guys, and this is hard for me to say because he is such a great player. My favorite player, Chris Paul. A lot of the critics and the naysayers are going to harp on the fact that when he was in LAC, Clippers that is, but I mean he required a lot of touches for that offense to run smoothly. You know, a lot of pick and roll action and was ran through him. You know, whether it was the DeAndre Jordan or the Blake Griffin. You know, it was he demanded the ball, and I feel like a lot of critics are wondering whether or not he's going to be able to handle his position or his new role as kind of maybe sometimes having to be an off-ball player when Harden's in the late game situations, you know, chefing these guys up, stirring up the pot like he does so well. I mean, that's a big concern, and I think that should be a glaring concern for Rockets fans. I don't personally think it'll be a problem, but that remains to be seen. Only time will tell as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. And speaking of the Clippers, the team he went to, what team in the West do you think dropped off the most due to a move that was made, whether that be the Jazz losing Gordon Hayward to the Celtics or maybe the Clippers losing CP3? I think it's the Jazz. The Jazz weren't really a good team anyways. Gordon Hayward was the one who he's the reason they won what they won. I think the Clippers will be fine. They have Blake Griffin. Obviously I think they'll still make the playoffs. I think the Jazz drop off completely. What do you think?
And see, I feel almost the exact opposite, because the simple fact that Chris Paul was sort of the catalyst, the guy that kept that team rolling, sort of like how Russell Westbrook is with the Thunder. I mean, he set the tone in practice. A lot of times there were rumors about how the effort wasn't there in the Clippers practice, and that might have reflected some of the production on the floor. With Chris Paul out of that element, I mean, a lot of times he's suffering from injuries here and there, but with him out of the equation now, I feel like they don't have that dog, that X factor. Blake Griffin suffers a lot of injuries. He's currently on the rebound. We're looking for him to having a great season. They're going to lean on him heavily. Him and DeAndre Jordan are going to carry a lot of weight on that team now. Without Chris Paul, I feel like personally the Clippers, without that leading point guard, without that floor general on the floor, I'm not sold that they're gonna have as much of an impact as they had in the previous years. Nick, what do you think?
I'm actually going to agree with you, Devin. I think that the Clippers added a lot after losing Chris Paul. They added guys like Patrick Beverley, Sam Decker, Sindarius Thornwell in the draft, who I thought was a really good player. And they still have 2 stars, I think. Blake Griffin has had injury issues over his entire career, but he still is a star. DeAndre Jordan, still a star. When you lose a guy like Gordon Hayward from the Jazz, to the Celtics, besides Rudy Gobert, who can you really name that's a standout player on the Jazz? Gordon Hayward, I think, was a very undervalued star in the Western Conference. I think he's going to take the Celtics, maybe not this year, but in years to come, to new heights. I think he played, if you look at the series against the Warriors, I think he was the reason they were able to stay in those games until the very end. Of course, the Warriors did sweep them, but Gordon Hayward had a lot to do with them being competitive throughout the game. So I do see the Jazz dropping off because of the Gordon Hayward loss.
We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, I guess so.
You brought up Sindarius Thornwell, so let's talk about some of the young teams in the West.
Right.
Let's start off with the T-Wolves. The T-Wolves are a team I really liked. I've been liking them for a few years now. It's probably starting with drafting Anthony Wiggins.
Right.
I think they're going to be a good team. Obviously, they added Jimmy Butler at the draft. They have Karl-Anthony Towns. They have Wiggins. They got rid of Chris Dunn and replaced him with Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague's not the greatest player in the world, but I was thinking last year Chris Dunn was not that great. He's an all right player, but number 4 overall, that was a bad pick from them at the time. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to make a huge jump. They finished, I think it was 14th last year in the West.
Yeah.
I think they make the jump up
Jeff Teague's definitely not a move backwards.
No,
Definitely
I think
not
they
a
move up to
backwards.
maybe the 5th spot or the 6th spot even.
Wow.
But I definitely think they're a playoff team. What do you guys think?
I see them overtaking the Jazz's spot from last year. I see them being a 5th seed. Obviously, you have Karl-Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, Jimmy Butler, some of the youngest, most talented, I think the youngest and most talented big 3 in the NBA right now. They won't necessarily, I don't think they'll get to the Western Conference Finals this year, but they have the best future going forward, I think. And they have a slightly deeper roster than I think people give them credit for. They added veteran leadership like Jamal Crawford, Taj Gibson. They got young players like Justin Patton in the draft. You have other guys like who've played before. I believe they got, I can't think of his name now, but I think they have slightly deeper bench than people give them credit for, and I think that will help them get to that 5th seed in the Western Conference.
Like you were saying, I mean, Big Cat and Jimmy Butler, those are going to be a dynamic duo. I mean, the Cat's improving. Karl-Anthony Towns has improving year by year. I mean, you guys see it, whether he's getting the double-doubles in the games, and very close games at that. I mean, he's providing that offensive edge that the T-Wolves haven't had. Back when Rubio was there, and he was definitely the main guy on the team. They just weren't having that X factor on offense. They really didn't have the X factor on defense either. But I mean, I think the Jimmy Butler acquisition, definitely having Karl-Anthony Towns as your man in the middle. I think the Timberwolves are making some definite steps in the right direction. Playoffs. They might sneak in at an 8 seed, but I'm not sold on playoffs yet. But I think this would definitely be a good building year for them.
I think they'll be good. I think they add 15 wins. Is probably the number I'd add to the number they got last year. I'd put them in the 50s. So another young team real quick, just because everyone wants to talk about them.
Right.
Lonzo Ball and the Lakers. Obviously, the Lakers got a lot of attention when they drafted Lonzo. It looked like they were going to draft him because of his dad, LeVar. Lonzo's a great player. You know, you can say what you want about his dad and his
Summer
family,
League
and
MVP.
exactly, and kind of the circus around it.
That is
Alonzo
true.
Ball's a good player, and he's going to help with the Lakers and this rebuilding that they're doing. What do you guys think about that?
Well, you know, Lonzo is definitely going to be the golden boy. You know, the big baller brand is definitely in full effect in that Laker camp.
Pop them ZO2s. Those are fire.
I mean,
A little too poor for those ones, but yeah.
This Lakers team is a relatively young team overall. I mean, they've got Vanderbilt, Lonzo Ball. You know, they just got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope from the Pistons. I mean, they're not a very seasoned team. They don't really have a whole bunch of veterans to work with here. However, I feel that, you know, they're trying to build. They're trying to build that tradition, that Lakers tradition back up, and they're trying to have Lonzo Ball be the guy for them. Whether he is going to be that guy, I mean, it remains to be seen. I think he's going to definitely be a top-tier Rookie of the Year candidate. It's going to be a big season from him. I don't know if he's definitely going to be that guy that you can make the golden boy and put him as the star player on your team. I'm just not convinced yet, but I'm going to have an eye on him throughout the season. Definitely looking forward to what he's going to bring to the table for them.
I agree with you. I think if there's one team that's probably not going to make the playoff this year, but is going to be very fun to watch, one of the most fun teams to watch, it'll be Lonzo Ball and those Lakers.
Agreed.
Brook Lopez, I think, was a really good acquisition. I think right now they've put good pieces around Lonzo Ball for him to have a good rookie season. So I could see him being a Rookie of the Year candidate easily.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. Like you said, they're going to be a team that probably won't make the playoffs this year, but it'll be interesting to see where they are in a few years. So the Lakers, obviously, they're going to be a fun team to watch. Is there another team that maybe isn't a top contender that you're going to want to watch in the West?
It's interesting you say that. I honestly think that, and a lot of they flew really under the radar. But I mean, the Kings look really good to me this year. I think they're gonna surprise a lot of people, and definitely gonna surprise a lot of those top teams in the West. You know, they got De'Aaron Fox, Justin Jackson in the draft, my boy from North Carolina. You know, they also acquired Vince Carter. A lot of people didn't realize that. Vince Carter and Zach Randolph, they acquired those two in the offseason. Those are some big moves. I mean, Zebo was doing his thing in Memphis for the longest, and Vince Carter is always going to provide that electricity to your team whenever he comes in, and he's always going to play the right role. He knows what to do, when to be, where he needs to be on the floor, and whenever he's there, he's also going to provide that good mentorship to those young guys. And I mean, they're going to lean on those returners, and Willie Cauley-Stein, Skal Labissiere, of course, Buddy Hield, he's going to return this year. And I honestly feel like they're going to sneak in maybe at that 7th, possibly even the 6th seed in the playoffs. I've got high hopes for the Kings.
I agree with that. I think another player to watch on the Kings that didn't get a lot of talk in the summer league because he didn't play, Harry Giles.
Wow.
He was, in his high school recruiting class, he was
Right.
number 1. Not Lonzo Ball, not, who was the other? Markelle Fultz, excuse me.
Great talent.
But
Great
he was
talent.
rated higher than all of them. He had a torn ACL, didn't play much at Duke, but I see him making a big impact in the future. I think that was a very underrated pick by the Sacramento
Yeah,
Kings.
I'm really excited to watch Dennis Smith and see what he does. He's an exciting player in
Forgot
college.
about the Mavs. Forgot about
You
the
know, I
Mavericks.
think he's going to be a really, really good player, and I agree that they're going to be Kings are going to be a fun team to watch, but I like the Mavericks. That's the
Really?
team that I want to watch.
AC?
They're not going to be good. No,
AC?
I don't think they're going to make the
Oh, okay,
playoffs.
okay,
You got,
okay.
you know, an
Ooh,
old.
Wesley Matthews and Dennis Smith in that backcourt.
I think they'll be good. You know,
Oh, yeah.
they'll have an old Dirk. You know, which is, it's getting a little sad at this point to watch.
I mean, I think old
That
Dirk is
fadeaway
better
is
than
still silky.
Yeah,
It
old
is.
Dirk is always better than no Dirk at all.
That's a
you
good
know?
point. All right, so let's get down to the important question in the West. Is there a team, we're each going to give one team, that will beat
Oh,
the
boy.
Warriors? I'll start. I think it's going to be the Thunder. I think the moves they made for Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, and having Russell Westbrook there. I mean, Russell Westbrook carried that team. Obviously, they don't have a bench. It's going to be tough for them, you know, when the games get late and they got to move people in. But I think they're going to be a really good team. I think if any team can do it, it's them.
All right. Nick, what do you think?
I like that pick a lot. I think I'm going to agree with you there. I know I said that I think the Rockets are going to have a smoother transition with bringing in Chris Paul, but James Harden in the playoffs is not giving me any indication that he can knock off the Warriors. Russell Westbrook has shown he's gone off. Nothing has stopped him in the playoffs. Carmelo Anthony, I think he hasn't played much in the playoffs, hasn't really done much throughout his career in the playoffs. I see him stepping up big because he knows in this latter part of his career he needs to win if he wants to have a great legacy in this league. Paul George, I think, even though they got swept by the Cavaliers last season, I think he's a guy who plays well in the playoffs. That's just the amount of talent, the amount of points you can score with that big three, along with some pieces on the bench, and then Steven Adams in the lineup as well, Andre Robertson defending in the backcourt. I see them, if anybody, dethroning the Warriors.
And I guess it's unanimous, guys. I mean, I don't have any disagreements with you guys. Russell Westbrook, wow, what can you say about him? Triple-double guy, highest paid player in history. I mean, he's an amazing talent. Paul George, he's got a lot to prove coming off of that leg injury the last couple of seasons. He's been slowly getting his feet back under him. I think he's finally over that injury and he's ready to play. But I mean, you know, he's always been saying for the longest time in his whole career, I've got to beat LeBron. I've got to beat LeBron. And now it's his time. You know, you got Melo on your team. You got Westbrook on your team. I mean, I'm excited. I really think that this will be the team that's going to take that step and knock off that Golden State monster. I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. So the real question then is, will they actually do it, or is it going to be the Warriors? Who's going to win the West? When it comes down to it, who's going to be the team that actually wins the West? When we start with you.
I don't think it's any doubt it's going to be the Warriors. They didn't lose anybody of significance. In fact, they added people. Jordan Bell, as
True.
Ben and Carter were talking about earlier, a great pick in the draft. Omri Caspi is a nice player coming off the bench, and Swaggy P. I mean, how can you get worse with Swaggy P? I mean, come on. I do think he's going to add a three-point shooting element to this team that's already got a lot of that. So I just don't see them getting any worse. Obviously, you have Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. Those are some of the three best, probably 15 players in the league. It's just ridiculous how talented and how well coached they are. Steve Kerr kind of goes under the radar. He doesn't really talk much, but he's a fantastic coach in the NBA, one of the best coaches in the NBA.
Well, guys, I mean, I would like to say that the Warriors would take it, but I'm really sold on this OKC bandwagon right now.
You really like him?
I really do. I really think Russell just needed a couple of more pieces. He's got that fire in him. It's almost Kobe-esque. Number 8 Kobe-esque. I mean, he's gonna bring that. He's gonna bring that X factor to the game every single time. Melo's gonna give you that offensive catalyst. Paul George is a lockdown defender on the perimeter. I don't see Klay Thompson getting around Paul George on that perimeter. Steph Curry's got it in for him with Russell Westbrook. And I mean, KD's going to be the only Achilles heel for Melo, but I think they're going to have some different acquisitions on their team are going to be able to handle Kevin Durant. Robertson's a very good defender on ball. I'm excited. I really think that, you know, I think OKC is going to be that team this year. I don't really think the Warriors have it in them for a fourth year. I mean, they've been there since, you know, that first run when they beat the Cavs. They've been going every single time. So I think, you know, after a while the legs just give out on you. I mean, 82 games is a long season. So I'm picking the Thunder. I'm picking the Thunder. You guys, I mean, I'm gonna have to disagree with y'all on this one, but
I mean, I think that's a good pick. I think the West is gonna be exciting to watch. I can't wait to watch what, you know, the Spurs do, what the Rockets do, what the Thunder do, what the Warriors do. I think eventually it's going to be that lack of bench that kind of do the Thunder in. I think the Warriors aren't going to have the cakewalk to the finals that they had last year, but I do think it's going to end up being the Warriors, just like it has been for the past couple of years, and I think we'll have another Warriors-Cavs finals, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if the Thunder or Rockets or Spurs are able to come out and upset the Warriors and be the team to finally take over.
Well, like a wise man once told me, only time will tell.
Exactly. So that's it for your Western Conference preview. Thanks very much. Send it back to Ben and Carter.